Hello, my name is Marty Levinson, and I want to welcome you to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers.
Thank you, Marty. Avi Myers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the World Wide Web at www.ntnm.org, where you can see videos of all the shows we've done over the last 4 years and change on YouTube, including all the good stuff from the upcoming Aldermanic campaign and the one that just passed. Community policing, we're all big on that, caps24.org. Sonny in his spare time is chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District. Now, this is the first show we're doing since the election. So here's the ground rules. Here's who I invited. I emailed or Facebooked every single candidate or made phone contact. 5 wards, everybody was invited. The 41st Ward, the 43rd Ward, the 45th Ward, the 46th Ward, and the 50th Ward. In the 41st Ward, well, you know what? I'm not going to go ward by ward. Basically, 4 people are here for today's taping. Lieutenant John Garrido and John Arena, both running in 45, as well as Molly Phelan, who's running in 46. 3 different people will come to a special taping we're doing on March 16th, tentatively, and that would be Michelle Smith, and that would be Mary O'Connor, and I'm leaving somebody out, and I apologize. The 2 people I did not hear anything from at all were Tim Egan, and I also heard nothing from Deborah Silverstein in the 50th Ward. Surprise, surprise, surprise. So basically, everybody had a 9-minute segment, and because, you know what? So, okay, I'm going to give Deborah's time over to the alderman because we can talk about her during those during that time period. And I would like to introduce you to the alderman of the 50th Ward, the chairman of the Buildings Committee, the vice mayor of the city of Chicago, the man who was endorsed by Jewish Chicago, the man who I voted for 50 or 60 times on election. No, just once.
Oh, God.
Dan Miller would never have let me vote more than once. He was my Republican election judge.
If you voted more than once, you'd now be with handcuffs and on the way to county jail.
No, I just got one, and frankly, with the turnout, they wouldn't, like nobody voted more than once. So, but we are talking about Alderman Berny Stone. How you doing?
Good, thanks, Avi. Well, you just mentioned the nasty word, the turnout. The turnout was unbearable, and quite frankly, we expected at least 2,000 or 3,000 more people, and frankly, it's one of the reasons that we feel that that we weren't able to go over the top on election day.
No, you definitely had the most votes, and you did finish number 1.
But yeah, but we felt that with a 14,000 turnout, we could have gone over the top. Our call-ins would indicate we had somewhere around 7,000 pluses, and only almost 4,300 voted for us, and that's far short of 7,000. So had there been 2,000 more people that showed up, we thought we'd get the majority of the people that showed up.
I have to think that being icy and snowy, because part of your crowd is an older crowd.
No, it was a pretty decent day. Early in the morning, it wasn't so hot, but it turned out to be a pretty decent day. I think there was an apathy out there. Everybody, I think, thought that Emmanuel had it in the bag and they didn't have to vote. And I guess the aldermanic didn't excite him enough.
Well, they should be very excited right now because, frankly, we have a chance to really have really lousy leadership in the 50th Ward.
Are you referring to me, sir?
No, I am referring to your opponents, sir. I mean, we have a chance. I was going to say, we have a chance to enter the Stone Age, but not the good Stone Age.
Well, let me say this to you. In my opinion, I think, considering the economy, which I get blamed for, considering the economy.
That's in your role as chairman of the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, I think we're doing pretty well. We still have one of the best neighborhoods as far as I'm concerned, to live in. It's not a bad place to work in if you can find a job. It's really a really nice place. It's unfortunate that some of the businesses have failed, but some of the businesses are doing fairly well. And the reason they're doing fairly well is because they're good businessmen. And we find that a good businessman, even in bad times, will survive. There are businesses that aren't doing so hot, but just able to make a living. And that's, of course, the times. And those that survive when the times get better will flourish, because this is a good area. It's one of the vital areas of the city. We know that because we get people coming here from all over the Middle West. And it'll continue that way for many, many years to come, even long after I'm gone. As I've indicated all over, this will be my last term. And but I did want to stay on so I could help the new mayor. I think that my experience will be beneficial to the new mayor. I think my experience also will be good for the people of the ward, and that's one of the reasons that I'm running for re-election. I can only say this. My opponent has put forth an 8-point program, which I have in front of me. Most of the 8 points are things that everybody talks about, and really it's almost laughable. But one of them really bothers me, and that's the second point, which says hold landlords and homeowners accountable for deteriorating buildings. And why it's laughable, and I brought this up, and I've got to talk about it, and that's the fact that here is a candidate that takes money from you're the one who brought it to the attention of the general public, but here's the candidate who takes money from someone who is allegedly a slumlord, who after I read your story in Jewish Chicago, I checked it out. I find out that he's been in housing court on at least 11 different buildings. He is constantly and has problems with his buildings. We know that the CAPS people have, on various occasions, have complained over the fact that he doesn't apparently check his tenants who apply for their tenancy. And
they do no background checks. They don't do any criminal.
As a result, he ends up with tenants who may be prostitutes, may be drug dealers.
Not maybe. I mean, they were. One thing I'll tell you, because some of those buildings are south of Devon, where Sonny chairs the meetings. I chair the meetings between Devon and Pratt, and rabbis of synagogues in my area, 4 or 5 different rabbis showed up, for court watch to make sure that the judge and the state's attorney understood the damage that these Talmud buildings were doing to the community. Not just the loud music, but the undesirable people seeing drug deals, people being drug addicts, and people were not being screened at all at that point in time when we were thoroughly involved in it.
Well, even worse than that, let me say this to you. She listed them as one of her 5 largest contributors on her questionnaire to the Sun-Times. Having checked this out, we also find out that they took she accepted more than $1,500 from this particular Talmud management. We also found out that Talmud management does business with the city and accepted money from the city. Now that's an ethics violation. Now here's somebody seeking office, the office of alderman, who starts out while she's seeking that office, violating our ethics code. And if you're gonna seek an office, how do you start out by violating the ethics code? While you're seeking the office, our ethics code says you do not accept any donation in excess of $1,500 from anyone who does business with the city. Now it's clear, and I delivered the evidence of this to the Tribune yesterday.
Excellent.
I also gave him a copy of Jewish Chicago.
Oh, thank you.
And your story on it.
Thank you.
This really bothers me. She wants to help the new mayor, and the new mayor apparently is going to have to count on her when he's trying to solve our budget problems. And she tells everybody she's a CPA and she's financially responsible. Here she is. She's accepting more than $70,000 from the unions, from all the unions. She manned all her precincts with union people. And our budget is 80% personnel. Now, how is she going to help the mayor deal with personnel costs, which is basically union people, when she belongs to the union's lock, stock, and barrel? How is she going to negotiate with the people who own her lock, stock, and barrel? You tell me, because I don't know. They own her. They bought and paid for her. And if she does get elected, they elected her. So you tell me, my constituents, is that what you want? Someone who's bought and paid for and by the unions, and someone who belongs to them, lock, stock, and barrel? You know, the reason the unions won't give me the money is because I said no to them. I won't let them use me. I come from a union family. My father was a union man for 60 years. But on the other hand, I am not bought and paid for, and nobody is going to use me against my constituents. But she's bought and paid for and going to be used by those people.
No question about it. And yeah, she's. It's just really a bad situation if, God forbid, she should even come close to getting elected. It just, people don't realize the lack, not just the lack of depth. By the way, it should be pointed out, too, that her husband is actually been the attorney representing the particular slumlord.
I didn't check that because I'm not running against
right, well,
her
I'm
husband.
just, okay. But and that's not his only slumlord that he represents. So that's me bringing that up.
Okay.
So, and that's verified records from housing court and from violations and some pretty violated buildings. But in any event, so let's move forward.
Okay. The real issue and the gut issues here is, she took something like 11 meters and tried to make those 11 meters the major issue in this campaign. Well, that's not the major issue in this campaign. It never was. First of all, it was a phony issue to start with because she called me a liar because I said I had nothing to do with the placement of the meters, and I didn't. I was ordered to put them there. I gave the evidence of that order coming from the Department of Transportation. But listen, if the newspapers won't print it, that's their business. But she ignores that, of course. And yes, I removed meters from another location, and they had to go somewhere. They could have gone anywhere, but they went to a commercial area. As a matter of fact, directly across the street from where the new meters went, there are no meters.
Yeah, there's free parking on that side of the street.
There's free parking on the north side of Toohey. And that became the major issue of the campaign. Well, it's not a major issue, and anybody who thinks it is foolish. Are the meters an issue? Yes, the meters are an issue. May have made a mistake to vote for him? Yes, I may have made a mistake. Do I make mistakes? Yes, I make mistakes. Will I admit that I make mistakes? Yes, I'm human. I make mistakes. Based on the information I had at the time, I voted for it. Yes, I did.
As did 44 other members of the city council.
That's correct, because based on the information we had, that's what we did.
Including many independents and people from all different political persuasions.
We went on the basis of what we had. To avoid doing this, to avoid having this happen again, I've presented new legislation which would review these type of contracts by an independent source, which is a auditor general, which would not be a part of the mayor's office, which would be a part of the treasurer's office. The treasurer's office would have the auditor general under their control, and the auditor general would check all contracts made, which is made through the mayor's office. And before we would enter into any of these contracts, the auditor general, who would be trained in financial matters, would review those contracts and advise us, so we wouldn't make these types of errors again. I introduced this legislation. This legislation will not come up prior to April 5th, so it will not become part of the election question. It'll come up after April 5th. But that's to correct this situation so it will not occur again.
And anybody who, by the way, looks at the whole issue of the Auditor General should understand that it's also vastly superior, in my opinion, or if you really take a look at it, to the Inspector General idea that's been pushed by other people.
The Inspector General has no financial training. The Inspector General is there basically to root out any fraud or misdeeds that are going on within the city. And quite frankly, basically, all the Inspector General has done in the past is fine people who live outside the city limits. That's been the limit of what the Inspector General has produced up till now. Most of the convictions of wrongdoing have come as a result of investigations done by the federal government. And that's the reason that I've always said that this is a duplication of the services being done by the federal government under the auspices of the U.S. Attorney.
2.5 minute warning.
All right, let me also discuss something else which became an issue. An issue became as a result of some signs that were put up at the last minute during the campaign, which I had no knowledge of, and I as a result, I had the people who were responsible have been since let go and are no longer with my campaign. At the last minute, some signs were posted which said Emmanuel Stone. I had nothing to do with that. I absolutely had nothing to do with it. When I found out about it, I asked that they be removed, but it was too late. It was done at the last minute. I absolutely deny any knowledge of it, and I absolutely was opposed to it, and the people who were responsible are no longer with my campaign. And that's all I can say about that. I was not endorsed by the mayor, and those signs were misleading and shouldn't have been made and shouldn't have been posted.
And that should put that one completely to bed at this point. If people want to contact the campaign.
The campaign number is 773-539-0050. The aldermanic number is 773-764-5050. I'm available for aldermanic businesses on Monday and Thursday evenings.
That's 2 nights a week.
I don't know any other aldermen that's available 2 nights a week. I'm available on Monday and Thursday at our office, which is 6199 North Lincoln in Lincoln Village, above the Dress Barn.
And by the way, good luck even trying to find, even on Election Day in November, the 50th Ward Committeeman's office was locked, shut, and shuttered. So
let me also say something. My opponent says that she took care of aldermanic services. You know, I checked out 311. I found one notation from Deborah Silverstein. She called for an animal trap for her own house. And what she said is that she was from Alderman Stone's office. And if anybody wants to see a notation for that on 311, I'll be happy to show them. These are the aldermanic services that she apparently she called for, and that's why she said she got into the aldermanic campaign. You know, she said she was from Alderman Stone's office. That's how she handles her aldermanic services out of the committeeman's office. Ho, ho, ho.
Well, we are running out of time. By the way, you can check them out the web at Good for the 50th. And if God forbid she wins, you'll probably be good for a fifth every night when you see how much this neighborhood falls. Anyway, time for our next segment. Thank you, Alderman.
Thank you, Avi.